Okay, folks, we are trying to go live for our newest virtual keeper chat, and I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties. This is new, so if there is anybody online right now that's seeing this, if you could let me know, that would be great. I'm seeing a thumbs up from somebody. And I'm seeing some hearts, so that's good. I'm seeing a bunch of hearts. All right, so Carrie is telling me that she sees us, and so does Patty, so this is great. So on this sort of gloomy and gray day, we're here at the zoo, starting our next virtual keeper chat. So just kind of showing you around a little bit. If anybody recognizes where I am, shout it out. Great, we're seeing a ton of people that can see us now. That's fantastic. All right, they see us in Quincy, Mass. Okay, for those of you that haven't been here before, I'm at our harbor seal exhibit where two of our favorite residents live. And so today we're gonna take you behind the scenes, sort of through an area that most folks don't get to see and from a perspective that most folks don't get to see. So we are heading into our harbor seal area. And we're gonna go right through, and we're gonna go right out onto the beach. And I'm gonna introduce you to Christy and Carrie. These are two of our keepers here at the zoo that provide daily care for our harbor seals. And I'm basically going to turn it over to them. So, Christy, you can take it away.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you. Sorry you guys couldn't be here today, but we're really happy that you're actually joining us live on Facebook. So we're going to go ahead and do a training session with our two harbor seals. Now, I know if you guys come to the zoo a lot, you probably know their names. But just in case we have some new people watching, we're going to go ahead and introduce you to those two right now. Let's see if we can get Yellow to come out. Yellow, girl. So this right here is Yellow. She is our 37-year-old harbor seal. She was a rescue animal, so she did strain was rehab a non-releasable. That's why she's here with us today. Our other seal that Kerry will be working with is Blue. He's hanging out over there right now. He was born here. He is 17 years old. He's actually Yellow's son, so it's a mom and son pair. All right, so I think today what we're going to do is maybe try to get you guys a really close-up look at Yellow and harbor seals in general, something that maybe you wouldn't be able to get as close-up if you were here at the zoo. So first off, people are probably going to ask just about Yellow's eyes. So she is blind in her right eye, and she's also an old lady for a harbor seal. They typically live into their early 30s, and she's 37. So she's an old lady for a harbor seal, but she is blind in her right eye, but she still has some vision in her left eye, and she does really well in the pool. So I'm going to have her come over this way. So the first thing you want to notice about Yellow is her shape. So harbor seals will have that torpedo shape, and that's going to help these guys be really fast in the water. They are semi-aquatic mammals, so as you can see, she's out here on land. That's actually a normal behavior for harbor seals. They can haul out on land a lot during low tide. They'll usually haul out to rest, to warm up during pupping season. So it's very common to see these guys hauled out on beaches, sand dunes, or not sand dunes. What am I thinking of? Low tide, low tide, sandbars, thank you. Sandbars, like what is that? So sandbars, so you see these guys hauled out a lot.
All right, Christy, we've got a question from Xander, age 9, wants to know how long they live.
The average age in captivity is early 30s, so roughly about 32, 34 would be the average age. Males tend to live a little bit shorter, have shorter lifespans than females. So Yellow is getting up there with age. She's actually 37, so she's actually pretty old for a harbor seal, but she's doing fantastic.
Okay, so Hannah, age 8, wants to know if you know where she was rescued from.
So we did actually try to figure that out, but because she's stranded about 37 years ago, it was a little hard to figure out where she's stranded. But we do know it was in the New England area, and we know she was rehabbed at New England Aquarium. So again, this was about 7 years ago.
And Brandy, actually Jack, age 9, wants to know where did we get their names from?
That is a fantastic question. So Yellow actually got her name from rehab. So when she was in rehab, let's see if she'll turn over for us. So when she was in rehab, so she actually is with a bunch of other seal pups during that time. Good, good. And so to identify the different seal pups, they had different colored tags. Her tag was a yellow tag, and that yellow name sort of stuck with her.
Okay.
As far as Blue goes, he was born here. We had a naming contest here at the zoo, and Blue is the name that won.
Okay, we are getting a ton of questions. Harrison, age 9, wants to know how much do they weigh?
Fantastic question. So we do weigh all of our animals monthly. So the last check-in that Yellow had, she weighed about 150 pounds, and Blue, our other guy, weighed about 187 pounds.
Okay, Renee, age 6, wants to know, do they eat more food than fish? And then Charlie, age 8, wants to know what else they eat.
Okay, so right now our 2 guys here at the zoo get fed fish. We feed them herring, which is this big fish right here. And then we also feed them capelin. A big chunk of their diet is fish, but they can also eat other things like squid, crustaceans, and mollusks. So, but here at the zoo, primarily it's fish and squid.
Okay, Maddie and Shane want to know if they're endangered.
Fantastic question. So these guys are currently not endangered. Their populations are stable, and they are least concern.
Okay, Oriella, age 7, wants to know how fast can they swim?
Very good question. So these guys are pretty fast swimmers. They can swim up to about 12 miles per hour.
And Kim wants to know how long do they sleep?
How long do they sleep? That's a good question. Our guys here at the zoo, they do like to sleep more at nighttime. During the day, they will nap. And they typically, when they nap, they'll either do it at the bottom of the pool. They'll take maybe a half an hour, 20 minute, half an hour nap. And sometimes they'll also do what's called bottling, which is when they sort of go, this is Yellow's favorite napping position, by the way, is bottling. So she'll actually go in the water. She'll float vertically with just her head hanging out, and she'll breathe air. But these guys will typically sleep more at night. The exact hour, I'm not exactly sure the exact hour, but I would say like normal animal.
Okay. Adrian, age 3, says she wishes she could pet them, and I am actually going to get a little bit closer. Can you describe a little bit for the folks what they feel like?
So this is a really good view. These guys actually, believe it or not, have short hairs. So there you go. So you can sort of see that she has short hairs. When they're wet, they feel nice and smooth. But when they dry off, and a lot of times they'll do that when they haul out, they will dry off. They'll actually look fuzzy. So these short hairs are actually, I'm gonna turn it over here. So these short hairs don't provide any kind of insulation. That's their blubber. Good. But you can see their modeling sort of color. So harbor seals can either be a gray color with sort of black spots, or they can also be a dark color with white rings. So she's more gray with the black spots. And these guys also tend to be darker on their back and then more lighter on their stomachs.
So, let's see. Jackson and London want to know if they are friendly to people.
So our seals here have been in captivity for pretty much their whole life. We do a lot of training with them, and we build a great relationship with these guys. So our seals, yes, are friendly. However, if you were to come across a wild seal out on the beach, they are not friendly. They are a wild animal. And so it's always important, if you do see these guys hauled out on a beach, to always keep your distance, do a respectable distance, about 100 feet.
Okay, we have a question from Isabella, age 9, wants to know, do they know how to swim from birth?
Yes, these guys can swim in a few minutes after birth.
Okay, and Avery, age 10, wants to know, what do they do for self-defense?
So these guys, their main predators are going to be the big predators in the ocean. So we're looking at sharks out on the Pacific. You're going to look at orca whales, as well as polar bears up more towards the Arctic. So their defense for that is their ability to swim really fast and avoid predators. There goes Jello now. So they are awkward on land, but they are very fast and agile in the water. So that's going to help them avoid predators. That would be their big defense in the water.
Okay, so Trinity and Heaven want to know if they get sick or they fall ill, where do they receive care?
That is a fantastic question. So here at the zoo, we have a full-time vet staff and a full-time veterinarian. So we are always day-to-day taking excellent care of our seals and all the animals at the zoo, as well as doing yearly physicals, just like maybe your pets do at home. And we always do proactive health care. So these guys, training is really important as far as their health care goes. So they get their full entire vet exam all through voluntary behavior. They get vaccines, just like, good girl, just like your pets would at home. And every year, if our animals felt like they were sick, then we could our vet would come out and would do exams. We have a full hospital where we can do blood draws and x-rays and ultrasounds and all that fun stuff.
Okay, Elena, age 3, wants to know, do they make noise?
They do. Let's see if we can get them to vocalize. So these guys are probably the least social and the least vocal of the pinnipeds, but they do make snorting, grunting noises. And let's see if we can get Yellow and Blue to show us that. So here's Yellow. She does more of a snorting noise. Can you talk? Did you guys hear that? Try one more time. Yellow, talk. Turn. Good. Talk. Whisper bubbles. Try that one more time. Girl, Yellow, talk. Good job.
There you go.
There we go. Blues, let's see if he'll come out and do it for us.
Somebody asked, does the weather affect them?
No, so these guys are resident seals in Massachusetts, so they're very well adapted to our weather. So in the summertime, we do chill our pool in the summertime because we don't want the water to get too warm. But otherwise, in the wintertime, we do not heat our pool. These guys are very well adapted. They actually their bodies are adapted to conserve heat really well in the water. They have a nice blubber layer. It keeps them insulated throughout the year. So that does not matter much to them at all.
Okay, Abraham, age 5, wants to know if they swim good on their backs.
They do. So these guys can swim very well on their backs. They can swim sideways, upside down. They can swim forward. They cannot swim backwards. That's the only thing.
Okay. Serenity Love, age 8, wants to know, how old are they when they leave their parents? These are some great questions.
These are some great questions. So harbor seals are excellent moms for about 4 to 6 weeks. So the pups usually stay with moms for 4 to 6 weeks and then they're done. So after that, those pups are on their own. They typically will gain or almost double their body weight during that time. But yeah, 4 to 6 weeks, that's it. Here at the zoo, when Blue was born, that's exactly how long Yellow took care of him for about 6 weeks. So she was an excellent mother. And then once that light switch hit, she was done and he was on his own.
All right, so you guys are giving these guys rings that they're bringing back to you. Is that a trick, or why do we do that?
Yeah, so we teach all of our animals at the zoo, but definitely these guys, we do a lot of training with them. We do focus a lot on husbandry medical behaviors, but we also do fun things. So we do training with behaviors that will help them get exercise, that will help them stay mentally stimulated. So retrieving is a fun behavior that they seem to enjoy doing. So this gets them to swim around the pool. They use their whiskers and other senses to actually help find the rings. They can actually retrieve other items as well, and they seem to really like it.
So Hannah, age 8, is asking, do they ever fight with each other like sea lions do?
Yeah, so these guys, like I said, they're the least social of the pinnipeds. They do like their own personal space. So as long as they respect their personal space, they don't tend to bother each other too much. So if they do invade someone else's personal space, you'll see flipper waving, vocalizations. That's about it. Otherwise, they get along really well.
All right, so we have another question from Aria, age 9, wants to know, how do you gain your trust? How do they gain your trust?
Oh, that's a great question. So that any kind of positive interaction we have with the seals is going to help gain their trust. So we do a lot of training with them. We take it nice and slow. We use positive reinforcement. So whenever they do the correct behavior, they get a reward for it. We try to keep it very positive. And then through all of those interactions and all those training sessions, not only do they develop a trust to us, we also develop a trust for them.
All right, so we're getting a lot of questions on how much do they weigh. So some people may have tuned in a little bit late. So
Yep, so we just weighed them probably a couple of weeks ago, and yellow weighed about 150 pounds and blue was 187 pounds. Typically the females are a little bit smaller than the males. On average, they can be 150 to 200 pounds, and usually the males are a little bit bigger. On average, 200 to 250 pounds.
All right. What do they eat, and how often do you feed them? So, I'm going to show you that fish again.
Yeah, we have two kinds of fish mainly that we feed them at the zoo. So this is herring. This is probably their favorite fish, definitely Blue's favorite fish. And then we also feed them capelin. So the amount that they eat does change seasonally, but they do get one set amount of fish a day, and then we divide that fish up depending on how many training sessions we're going to do that day. We might put it in enrichment items, such as a boomer ball or a water jug, which is a great way for these guys to have to try to figure out how to get their fish out of certain things. So we try to keep them mentally stimulated that way as well.
Oh, here's a good question. Can they see at night when they are swimming?
So these guys, their vision is very well adapted for dark water. So they can see up to a point, but then they also have their vibrissae, which maybe we can look at yellow's vibrissae hair. So these are specialized hairs or whiskers with really extremely good nerves nerves in each whisker. So these guys a lot of times will also rely on whiskers in dark or murky waters to help them navigate for orientation, to find fish, so they can also use that as well at nighttime.
All right, so we've got a couple of questions about whether or not they bite. Will she open her mouth for you, do you think?
Let's see if Blue will open.
Let's see.
So you can look at those beautiful teeth there. So yes, and we say in the zoo world, anything with teeth can bite. But again, we build a trusting relationship with these guys. But this is one of the reasons why you never would want to approach a wild seal out on the beach, because they can bite and give a very nasty bite. So you'd never want to get bit or get too close to a seal.
Okay, let's see what else. We've gotten a ton of questions here, which is great. What's the population of harbor seals?
So right now in our area, they're probably about, I think the last study or the last field study was about maybe 46,000, the whole the Atlantic coast, about 70,000 maybe. So these guys are not endangered. They have a very stable population, and their populations are actually increasing.
Colin age 6 wants to know, why do they have dots on their fur?
That's a great question. So harbor seals are typically either have a light gray or brown coat with either black sort of spots, or they can be dark with sort of white-ish sort of rings. And so the reason why they're going to be doing that or have that is to help blend it into their environment. So if they haul out, that sort of black spotting color is going to actually help them blend into rocks and things like that. And they are lighter on their abdomen, so that's going to help them blend in when they're in the water.
So David Martins is asking, do they ever splash the trainers?
Oh yes, yes they do. Usually when it's about -0 degrees outside and you get a nice splash in your face, but yes, occasionally we do get wet. That's part of the business working with a marine mammal.
All right, and Elizabeth wants to, actually Christian age 8 wants to know, how long does the baby stay with the mom usually?
So when they're born, they stay with their mom for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then once that's up, they are done and weaned.
Okay, let's see. Easton age 9 and Grayson age 7 want to know if you brush their teeth.
That's a great question. Yes. So that is one of the behaviors that our seals do. So how we did that open mouth behavior with Blue, we actually can go in there with a toothbrush and brush his teeth. We actually have a fish flavored toothpaste.
Okay. How long can they stay on land?
So these guys can, I mean, they can honestly stay out on land for weeks at a time. But remember that our guys, you know, we feed them every day, so we provide them with their food. A wild harbor seal out in the wild, you know, would need to find food. So depending on how, you know, how they need to do, sometimes have a little bit of reserve on them, but they would need to go out and find food. So typically they can be out for a few days, I guess normally out in the wild. But our seals have stayed out for much longer than that. But again, we provide them with food.
Okay, somebody's asking, how do we keep the algae from building up in their water?
Oh, what a fantastic question. So we do a lot of pool maintenance here at the zoo. So every day we brush our pool. We try to make sure that the bottom of the pool and the sides all stay clean. It can take anywhere from up to an hour to 2 hours for pool maintenance a day. A lot of that is going to be more often in the summertime. So the wintertime we're really lucky. The algae sort of stops growing or grows really slow. The summertime is definitely the hardest as far as keeping the algae. But again, we do a lot of pool maintenance. Eventually, the algae in the summertime does win. That means when that happens, what we'll do is we'll bring our guys inside and we'll drain our pool, we'll manually clean it, and then fill it back up with salt water.
All right, Hazel, age 6, is asking a great question. How do we know which one is blue and which one is yellow?
That is a great question. So right there, oh, the guy waving is blue. So when you get to work with them every day, they definitely look very different. Just their overall patterns look different. Blue is a little bit bigger, a little bit longer. Yellow's a little bit lighter, a little bit shorter. But also too, you can just tell by Yellow's eyes, she is blind in her right eye. So she does have a whitish color eye.
What's their natural habitat? Landon age 4 wants to know.
So these guys live all the way from up towards Canada, all the way down to New Jersey, maybe the Carolinas. So they live all along the coast. They live in they sort of hang out on the coast. So they hang out in shallow water. Sometimes they will go in open waters, but for the most part they will hang around the coast. And they do need haul out sites. That's really important for these guys too. So they can haul out on anything from a sandbar to rocky shores to beaches.
Okay, do we want to see if we can get them to come out one more time? I know you're getting to the bottom of the bucket, and this is a process. Let's see if Blue will come out. He might not because I'm actually out here today.
So Blue's practicing his social distancing today. So, oh, there he comes. He decided to go. So this is Blue. Oh, there he is. So they do look a little awkward when they're out on land. It's like we can see if we can get him to move around. He might not. He might just jump back in. But they usually do a caterpillar-like motion on their bellies. That's how they move on land. So they are a little awkward on land, but they are very well adapted for swimming in the ocean.
Okay, and it looks like Yellow's now socially distancing herself.
It looks like Yellow might be full at this point.
And I think Blue's not far behind. So at this point, I think we're going to end this training session. I know the trainers always like to end on a good note. We have had a ton of questions, and we're doing these virtual keeper chats on a daily basis. So what I would say is if you like this one, give us lots of hearts and tune back in tomorrow. Maybe we can have one of the seals give us a little wave. And that's Blue saying goodbye. So until we see you guys next time, you guys have a great day.